3 things I wish I had known before starting ophthalmology. Let's go. What is up, guys, and welcome back to my channel. I'm Zach with Dr. Eyeball MD. It's good to have you back. On the channel, we focus on everything about medicine, ophthalmology, residency, oculoplastic surgery, fellowship, eyes, eye health, living life as a doctor, trying to survive. Boo-hoo. All right, so it's all good and fun here, but in today's video, I want to go over 3 of the things that I wish I'd known before starting ophthalmology residency. Would have been nice. I don't know that any of these necessarily would have changed my mind from starting it. Some of them actually may have reinforced the decision a bit stronger to do it. So I think this could be helpful to you if you're thinking about going into eye care of any sort, ophthalmology, that kind of thing. These are 3 things I wish I had known. So let's get into it. By the way, guys, go ahead, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. We're on the push to 20K, 20,000 followers, subscribers, friends, pupils. All right, let's go. Do it. Let's hit the like button too. So the first thing is, it would have been nice to know that basically everybody else thinks we're like the laziest specialty in the entire hospital. And I will say I think this is completely unfounded. The reason is I think that there's a big gap in what people know about eyes and what ophthalmologists know about eyes. And so in residency, you know, the residents are just getting pounded basically on call and this kind of thing oftentimes. And so any pushback by the residents on consults and things because they know that something can be triaged or wait till clinic or whatever in the middle of the night or seen the next day in clinic is perceived as laziness. But oftentimes it's just that the ophthalmologist, the ophthalmology resident knows that this is not as acute as maybe the consulting provider thinks it might be. At least that's often the case, maybe not always, but I think that's part of the reason. Another part of the reason, I think this is probably the bigger part of the reason on the broader scale, that people think ophthalmologists are just lazy as a specialty is that we value lifestyle, we value our time with our friends and family, and I know all the other specialties value this as well, but ophthalmologists really value it. And it's not a bad thing to value this. If you can go do a lot of work, treat a lot of patients, do a lot of high impact work in a short amount of time, and treat a ton of people, then go home in a reasonable hour, maybe even have Friday afternoons off, you shouldn't be demonized for that necessarily. So you have ophthalmologists out there seeing hundreds of patients a week. They're doing 20, 30 plus surgeries, high impact surgeries, giving people vision back in a week. This is important work. This is important things that people are doing. They're just doing it highly efficiently and quickly and on a broad level in a very systematized, efficient way, and then they go home at a reasonable time and they go see their family and their friends. And they shouldn't be made to feel like because they're not grinding for the sake of grinding that they're just a lazy specialty. They're just a smart specialty doing things efficiently, in my opinion. I think in some of the more highly intense subspecialties within medicine, sometimes there can be a bit of brainwashing to think that you should just be grinding for the sake of grinding. Do things that are meaningful for the right reasons and then have some balance in your life. I think that's the first thing that it would have been nice to know is that we get perceived as lazy oftentimes, and I think that's unjustified. So hopefully I'm speaking against that. All right, the second thing that would have been nice to know before going into ophthalmology, just how broad the job options are after ophthalmology. For me as a medical student, when I decided maybe I'd go into ophthalmology, I thought, okay, I'll go into ophthalmology, I'll maybe do a retina fellowship, and then I'll be a retina surgeon. But I had no idea just the breadth of possibilities within ophthalmology. So even if you do comprehensive ophthalmology, there are so many options within. You can go to academics, you can go into private practice. If you're in private practice, you can do a solo practice. You can open up your own practice. You can be an entrepreneur. Ophthalmology lends itself to that. You can do group practices. You can do multi-specialty group practices. You can do high volume cataracts. You can do 40 phacos in a week. You can do low volume, more laid back kind of clinic style. You can go work at somewhere like Kaiser. You can get the options are so broad. And then even for someone like me going into oculoplastic surgery, you know, I could go start my own practice. I could go into academics. I could make even a multi-partner oculoplastics group. So the options are so broad and diverse. It's not like going into, you know, a field that would push you more toward like a very set specific job type. I know ER comes to mind. Like, you pretty much know what you're getting with that, even though, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more variability than I even realized. But I feel like with an ophthalmology, even though it's such a subspecialized field and we're just focused on one little organ, there's such broad variety in what you can do. It would have been nice to know that going into it. I think it only would have solidified the decision further to do it had I known that. So if you're thinking about doing it, know that that is the case. Third thing I wish I had known before going into ophthalmology is how high impact some of these surgeries are on people's lives. The ability to give someone either their sight back and sometimes their lives back is, it's vastly underrated in ophthalmology. And this is maybe a fourth thing I wish I had known, is that when you go into ophthalmology, your family has little idea what you do unless you really explain it to them. Your friends all think you're a LASIK surgeon, and your patients all think you're an optometrist. But I've vastly underrated the impact you can have with the surgeries in ophthalmology. I had patients in their 20s come in with bilateral white mature cataracts, being led in by their friends, like holding their friend's shoulder as they walked into the clinic because they literally can't navigate the hallways on their own, signing them up to do a surgery, doing a procedure in 15 minutes, and then having the patient come back the next day taking off a patch off their eye, and now they're walking around. They can see, for the first time in years. So don't underestimate the impact you can have with these surgeries. And even for me now in oculoplastic surgery, some of the reconstructive things we do, the orbital tumor removals that we do, and even the cosmetic stuff can be so life-changing for people, these surgeries that we do in oculoplastic surgery. So there's so much impact you can have in ophthalmology that I vastly underappreciated, and I think the general population as a whole vastly underappreciates unless you've been a patient needing the services of an ophthalmologist. People just don't understand the impact that one can have on their vision and their life. So that's something that would have been nice to know. And again, it would have only solidified the decision for me to go into it. So those are 3 of the things that would have been nice to have known before going into ophthalmology if you're thinking about doing it. So hopefully that helps you. If you like the video, if you dig it, leave a like on it. I would appreciate it. Let's get this to 200 likes, maybe. And subscribe to the channel if you dig it. I'll see you guys in the next one.